The next program started this year's Fresh Look Expo in September. There's Hitomi Gilliam, Tabbal-Yamaguchi, and also included in this program is Miss Lois Hiranaga, all AIFD. So Hitomi, can you please tell us how long the three of you have been working together, teaching and designing Hawaiian tropical floristry?
Okay, so first of all, I want to mention that Lois is traveling. So she's not with us to actually be here in person to kind of start this. But here's Sue. Thank you for joining us. So the question was, how long have we been working together? Many years, actually, because Lois and I first started to work together working on the Neotropica Guide, which was published in 2008. So even prior to that, a couple of years in the works. So many years, actually. And she and I love going out, testing out stuff, checking out all the different varieties. I think Sue as well, involved in like always looking for new product, new material, what's available in Hawaii, not just, anthuriums, orchids, some of the given, but also just things out in the wild that people don't really think about that's on the island. There are beautiful things that us, especially on the mainland, we're like, what is that? That is so cool. Is that something that could be introduced to the market as well, right, Sue? So we've been talking about this and trying and testing out different things to see how long it lasts. So all of us together, three of us, quite often have conversations about what's new and what can we do with this new product? What can we introduce from Hawaii? Some exciting kind of movement in different techniques, mechanics, right, Sue?
Definitely. There's a lot of people now want something that's different. And so they want something like a different texture, a different color. They want more vibrant colors. Some want more pastel. So we're always looking to see what's more readily available. A lot of times if we have to forage, it's either from our neighbor's yard or from on the side of the road, but you definitely have to be safe about it. And if it's a private property, you always ask. But definitely we've been testing out a whole bunch of different things.
So it's very cool. So should we start the video so we can get rolling and see what we had in our program?
Sounds good.
So it's my honor now. I'd like to introduce, we have first three designers, so bear with me. I have three introductions and we'll bring them up one at a time. So for Hitomi Gilliam, AIFD, to say naming the beautiful anthurium in Hitomi's name is well deserved would be an understatement. Back in 2007, we put on an event with Hitomi and she called it Neotropica. 2007, I'm still amazed with that. It was held at Macy's flagship store at Ala Moana Shopping Center in Honolulu, and some of you in the audience was there. The event included 2 shows, and both were sold out. What people witnessed were floral designs in fresh and innovative looks that changed the way we look and think about tropical design. Hitomi showed us that design possibilities are endless, which leads us today where our featured designers will continue to pursue the possibilities. Lois Hiranaga, AIFD. Back in the day, tropical flowers were not considered to be ideal for wedding bouquets. Really? Yeah, really. We wanted to change that mindset, so we reached out to Lois to help us break through. A big part of Lois's design business is destination weddings. Brides coming to Hawaii for their dream weddings would request that their bouquets be made with Hawaii's flowers. Lois created an endless array of inspiring bouquets, featuring a range of flowers grown in Hawaii. Her work impressed a writer and was featured as a front page story in the Star Advertiser lifestyle section. Lois showed us when flowers, Hawaii's flowers, are placed in the hands of creative designers, anything is possible. Congratulations, Lois. And last, maybe saving the best for last, Sue Tabbal-Yamaguchi, AIFD, EMC. Sue is the owner, proprietor of Suvi Expressions, which provides great service to celebrity customers, destination weddings, and special events. She has further incorporated into her design her special signature design lei motif that portrays the beauty and elegance of Hawaii. We are proud to see how far Sue has come and can't wait to see what she does next. I'd like to turn the stage over to Hitomi, Lois, and Sue. Please give them a round of applause and welcome them on stage.
So good morning, everyone. We're so excited to be here to kick off the Fresh Look, our HFNA seminar for this year. We're really excited with the theme, Fresh Look, because over the years, we've been doing a lot of wedding work and really developing the excitement of incorporating tropicals with temperate flowers for wedding work to really popularize that combination for the last several years, right? It's always been wedding presentations. But this year we thought education first. Let's just sort of reel back and let's see how we could teach the art and craft of tropical designing, and in combination with temperates. Like, let's get down to the basics. And that's why we really called it the Fresh Look, the elements and principles of design, so we can go back to applying some of the real fundamentals that are important in being able to do our design more creatively. So so we've been really kind of having a lot of fun. We want this to be very interactive. We're gonna have conversation with each other. We want this to be like as if you're sitting in our workshop as we're creating the conversation that we might have as we're doing, like what you up to, Sue? What are you doing? So all these conversations, the questions that happen, we want it to be a very open source learning where it's really about sharing our knowledge openly and catch and release kind of way of teaching, and which means that whatever we're experimenting today, we're sharing it with you now so you can also interact with our learning. And that's what we're calling it, the Fresh Look, because it's not about just being on the laurel, trying to say this is the way it is. It's really about what do you think? What do you think? Should we try this? Should we try that? So really my teaching have been very much rooted to elements and principles of design. And we sort of spiel off those two words almost like as a one word, don't we? Like elements and principles. I'm going to reel back and really talk about elements. Because elements, what we design with, the ingredients, really is the key to creativity. Like in North America, we learn to design by actually copying. You go to a class and you see this thing, we're going to all make this. And so do we really learn exactly why we choose those combinations? Because if the material's chosen for us and you show us an example and you follow it, it seems like, maybe you're not really learning exactly why we chose those material. And so we're going to dig deeper with each material that we use here up in front of you, why we use something, and what makes it the creative process. So we're going to really focus on the elements of design. What I'm starting with is really my structural sort of approach to designing that makes it not only the flowers that I'm going to use in it, but the actual structure itself and its components. And the different components that becomes part of my elements of design. And so I'm going to be showing you a couple of different structures that I rely on today in designing creatively. It's kind of like a Lego kit. Like I make these different components so that I can mix and match it to create this, create arch, create a bouquet. Like it all are made up of components that we start with in structural designing. So I'm going to be working on this. I'm going to show you, this is a chicken wire roll, and I'm going to be showing how to make a chicken wire pillow, which is kind of the substitute for using like foam, so that you can design in water. And also the structure like this triangular structure here that becomes the embodiment of the actual shape that I'm going to create. What it does is it gives you gridding so that you can design flowers into this without stuffing it with tons of flowers. A lot of the volume often is created with volume of flowers. The cost of flowers today, we want to make big, but we want to use as less materials as possible. So it's really about economy of means. So the structural building becomes a very important part. So I'm going to just sort of step down as I have Sue talk about her design, and I'm going to design down here so you can see the whole process, right?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Well, thanks for coming, and I'm really excited to share with you something that has been on my mind for a long time. And the process that I do as far as designing is I get a notebook. My notebook is literally falling apart because that's how much I reference to this. But I draw a lot of my designs in here, my ideas, and I take down notes as far as what am I going to use? How am I going to use it? What's the tools that I need? Everything goes into this. So basically, this is like my Bible. And so I refer to this a lot, as you can tell. I need a new one. But I'm excited to show you this one. This has been, so in the shop, we have like, I have another incredible designer that I love to talk with and talk ideas. Because in Hawaii, we don't really have a lot of people that, you know, that like to be totally creative on different levels. I know there's creative people, you know, seriously. But for the thinking that the way that I think, this has been on my mind for a long time. And this is this bouquet here. So this is a European design. This is probably an inspiration from Gregor. And a lot of you have seen this before. And maybe some of you have not, but I will actually show you how to make this today. But this is pussy willow on the edge. So I literally glued every piece by hand, one by one. So it took me a while to make. In the back here, because the reason why I did it this way is because I wanted to glue. I had a purpose in mind. So it's a flat surface. It's not something that I can buy every day, so I make it. But it consists of wire, and I believe this is either 16 or 18 gauge. And I bundle like maybe 13 or 15, however much grids you want. And then from here, I get twine, I wrap it, I U-glue it, wrap it around, and then I do a spider web. So that's the base of my bouquet. There's a reason for this, because but you know, sometimes it's not as pretty, right? So on the back here, I got hina, and I braided it like a tea leaf lei. And that is getting strands of hina, and you twist it, fold it, twist, fold it. So it's basically like a tea leaf lei. And I have one here. And I did a spiral. I wrapped the stem, and I spiraled it on the bottom. And from there, I wired it. I made my wires longer for a reason, because I wanted to have little floating flowers on top of the base of my flowers. So that I would actually glue and this is like a dianthus. I got this from it's a dianthus. And I glued some flowers on the top because I wanted to float and give it some depth, some character in here. And you know, hina comes in strips, right? So I'm always grabbing, twisting, grabbing, twisting. And then when it gets short, then you add it and then you twist it again. So you're basically making a robe. That's the technique for this. And then I wired it up so the wires come up. And then I had a lot of glue. I based it, I glued a little bit of hina on the bottom, and then I put my orchids on top. So that way it adheres to something better, so it doesn't fall off.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So, you know how a lot of like structure building for all of us is a little bit time consuming, and people always have a question about how do you charge for that? Like what its usefulness.
Right.
So what is yours?
This is so my clientele, I have a mix of clienteles. I have, the regular everyday like me, and then I have some clienteles that want very unique pieces. But this can also serve as a unique piece if you wanted to have like as an entry or like a little conversational piece on a coffee table. But this one is intended for the bridal, for a bride, a very unique bride. You have to think clearly as far as where you want to take this, what is your clientele, how unique are they, what are their favorite things, how do you incorporate all of that? So this is...
So basically in this case, it's a bridal bouquet, so you'll be able to charge as a bridal bouquet, so you get the pricing. The difference with what I do is most of my work that I'm doing these days, because I really wanted to apply to business of floristry, most of it is about installation for an event. So event meaning not just big parties, but your small birthday parties, like little parties as well as big parties. But the whole idea is to create structures that you're going to get back. You're going to get it back. You install it, you do the flowers, make a beautiful party, and you get it back. That's the deal. So that it's really about reuse to reduce, which is a real important concept today. Because not only are we consuming more product every time you make it, but you're also consuming a lot of time. And so if you make it to reuse to reduce, and you're going to use it multiple times, structures that you'll use it 20 times, 30 times, like even all of these chicken wire roll, like you saw me making it, where I'm just rolling over the, what is this? I'm trying to remember. Yes, podocarpus. I'm stuffing it with podocarpus so that the chicken wires sort of start to disappear because it's green, right? And then you poke your flowers into it, whether some of the flowers in water tube or some flowers that, especially for event work, that it needs to last only for a day. So why would you not just stab it in, free-stemmed?
So this is actually my welcome piece to all of you to Hawaii. I thought I would start with this piece because leis being aloha, and the guests that come, that's what they think of Hawaii. It's quintessential Hawaii. And also the color of this piece is very tropical, and it just gives you that mood. I'm going to explain a little bit about the different flowers and the style. It's not all just the traditional style of stringing leis. Now you see contemporaries mixing leis in combination, and it's about looking at flowers at the individual sections of the flower, not necessarily the flower in front of you. You might, in this case, this is crown flower, and actually called crown flower because it was Queen Liliuokalani's favorite flower. So that's how they got the name crown flower. These flowers were actually harvested on Monday. So I just had them in the refrigerator here, so you can see that they're actually holding up quite well. They haven't started to show its age yet. So this is the back side. Up here is the actual back side of the crown part. So it's strung separately. And this particular flower has so many different ways of stringing that it's quite interesting. But it takes to not just look at the flower per se, but to look at the different parts of the flowers. So that's like really knowing your element of what you're doing, what you might inspire you. These are the University of Hawaii dendrobians, and it's actually sewn in a double style. So it would take 2 to 3 times, probably 150 blooms, because a single lei would take about 50 to 55 blooms. Gomphrena, bozu, I think you're familiar with, would be a temperate. And it's not grown commercially. I had to buy it as a potted plant to take the flowers. So not necessarily you're looking through conventional sources to procure. So this actually came from a farmer's market. And then, of course, when you get here, somebody like Kathleen will say, I have it in my yard. So I actually had asked people, and the people that I know grow it didn't have it. So it's always keep your suppliers very close. And then we have the ladies, the 2 ladies yesterday that did the lei making class. A kuli for Waimea, for this island, is known for a kuli ice plant. I believe it's a portulaca. And it comes in various colors, and it grows in the cooler areas. So Kamuela Waimea, which is probably my favorite part of this island. And the girls had said a couple years ago that the Paniolos used to wear, the Hawaiian cowboys would wear it on their hat to keep the hat down. Otherwise it would blow, you know. Oh, wow. So, but it had gotten such a positive from the audience that I was like, oh, can you please string me on a kuli lei? So the girls actually did this, Leah and Kelsey. And I did some foraging of Bougainvillea glabra. So that's available also in the mainland. It's not just from Hawaii, so something you could use. With green points, you saw these beautiful blue Hawaii mocaras that they had there. And we went to David Shige's, and he had these dickeyies, the bromeliads. I don't know if you saw them. So it's just to kind of just embellish my wood piece that I found on Maui, and I was like, I gotta have that. So another friend, can you please cut that for me? So this is my piece to you all. Welcome to the program, and welcome to Hawaii for the first timers.
You know what's always been exciting coming to Hawaii for me, and I've come many times, that I hang out a lot with Sue and Lois. We're kind of think tank sort of together, and one of Lois and I, like, our favorite thing to do is go foraging, and foraging things that we were told that they don't last, but we're going to try it again, because we're going to see if there's a way to make it last longer. And it's like the classic thing is like bougainvillea. They've been forever using in lei work, and it seems to hold up, but we seem to shy away from using it in design because it doesn't hold up. But there's a way to make it hold up. And I think we just never dug deep enough to find that we can use this material, that, you know, because we were told that it doesn't hold up. Okay, so I'm back just showing you how this structure building works. So the chicken wire roll have the podocarpus so that it actually provides a lot of good support. So when you put stems into it, whether it's free stemmed without without water, like for instance, like for a party like this, I might use roses. Some of the South American roses are perfectly fine for 24 hours without water. So I'm just going to free stem. That's what I call free stemming, where there's no water. But it'll last the length of time that it needs to be good for. But like the curculigo is its botanical name, but we call it whaleback in Hawaii. It is a leaf that it's fun to do. Like it's a big leaf, big surface leaf, so it takes up a lot of visual, and sometimes it's too big for an arrangement, but used in this way, sliced with that piece sliced out of it, you get thinner and a more beautiful flow out of it. It really is a beautiful plant material. You just slid into this and then just peel back. It's just like aspidistra. It behaves the same way because it has a venation that allows for peeling back in a very longitudinal way. But what it definitely needs water. Like you can't leave it out of water. It starts to curl up, dry, and it doesn't look good after a while. So I'm actually just stabbing in. Like this is what's great about this is you can just stab in the water tube wherever you need it, because the cell each one of these cells in the chicken wire allows this to hold this water tube really well and fill that with water so that it has a water source here, and then the peeled end also have water source there, so that it's going to look just fine. So, it's really about, I love this chicken wire roll because it's very diverse. You can kind of cover it. Like what I'm doing is actually kind of getting the major components in so that, if it's behind that, you don't need to cover that part of the chicken wire. You're reducing the amount of visible spaces that needs to be covered mechanically, and then the rest of it you fill with flowers. So you can imagine, and I don't know if you observed this while I was doing this too. I'm using bongo ties. That's what these are right here. Right here, they're just sticks, and they're cut end of sticks. We have lots of sticks, and rubber band. We have lots of rubber band. So basically what it is just rubber band just wrapped around and pulled like this. This is what I use instead of zip ties, because it's useful over and over again until it deteriorates. And these are all material that we have easily. Sometimes if I don't even have sticks enough, I might use like just rose stems that you threw in the garbage and cut those up and make these. So that's very, very useful. So all these chicken wire roll are just bongo tied in 3 spots, so that, when this dries out and you want to renew it, all you have to do is release those 3 bongo ties and fill it again. Basically, with this podocarpus interior, it could last up to a month, and you can use it over and over again.
I'm just finishing up, and I'm gonna let this cool down. But as you can see, I'm trying to just hide my mechanics a little bit. But I'll finish it up a little bit more, but I added in the cattleyas in here, so it's the focal point. And just a lot of wispiness here, so I'll probably add another layer. So this one has, right now, 2 layers. I'm working on the 3rd layer, so that way it just has a little bit more of like depth in there. And it just looks like little butterflies. But this is it. This is dianthus. So it's always good to know your plant material to see how it works. So I did this last night, and so dianthus actually closes. So what I want to do is probably change it, maybe look for a different white flower, or you would do it like, if it's for a bride, then, do it right before you deliver it. It doesn't take that long. It's just cut, snip, and put in a wire.
It's been 17 years that I met Eric. It's been a long journey, and we've shared many events, and probably the most memorable one was the one he mentioned at Alan Wong's, because it was a food and flower event mixed pairing with food, really good food. And we did arrangements with fruits and vegetables and things like that. And this piece goes back to that, and I think it's very tropical. I wanted to show you this side first, because it doesn't have the soft globas, and what happens when you introduce a variety that is very soft and more delicate. So on this side we have the pincushions, we have a sexy orange, star fruit, mangosteen. So I'm gonna, this is mangosteen that was actually found around the property. Somebody found it. I really like the fact that this color ties in very well with the metal grid. It's kind of great for, I think, for commercial work, and that's where my background is, more for like hotel work or destination wedding work. So, okay, I even brought the mangoes from Maui, and we've got some rambutan sheltered under this beautiful specimen Rockiana. Here now you can see what happens with the beautiful globas. You saw these at Colton's place, Plant Group Hawaii. This was hand carried, so it was cut on Sunday. So you get an idea of longevity. But it really just softens the boldness of our tropical flowers And I just love these ornamental bananas. And they're gonna hold up. Like many of the tropical flowers have quite a bit of water source. They are drooping some, but that's okay. I don't mind the soft curve in it. But I just kind of wanted you to see how that globa, the dancing ladies here, just gave us more depth and dimension and created softness to some really bold colors. So I hope you like that. The pincushions, by the way, is what's holding the fruit. So the fruits aren't, like the dragon fruit, if I punctured that, we might have fruit flies come around, or Drosophila, or it's gonna start to drip and get messy. So the pincushions are actually holding it in. It's cushioning. And the water source is in this glass vase. The glass vase was chosen so it's a little more transparent and light, and we could lift it up in these, just the 2 strips of challah leaf, a little bit more drama to the design. So I hope you like that. Yeah.
I'm just kind of freestemming right now. This is what I really wanted to show you. Like, just let's get a feel for what it could be, like quickly. Like, let's not lock into each insertion. Let's just see how it works, the dynamics of it. And so I'm just kind of working with the colors. One of my favorite is to use like any kind of brown tones. Interesting color dynamics. You know, it's really, brown tones have become popularized because so many new varieties of flowers come in browns, and we love it. But we didn't always love it because back in the days, when with all these breeding, like when you breed, quite often turns into brown. And then that was thought to be a failure until we found that we loved it. And the interesting thing about browns, it's not always been my favorite color, like honey, brown, that color, I thought, oh, it's a little bit blah. But Per Benjamin has enlightened me to the fact that it really is the connecting color. Because when you think about it, if you're a painter and you have one pigment and then another, that's why I hate watercolor, because it bleeds together and it always turns into brown, into mud, which means that brown possesses all colors. So that if you use that in between any 2 colors, it marries it together. So that's why I really love it, because it really will unite that real deep red, and then I can sort of bring into like even like a purple, and if you put the brown in between it, it marries it. Because in a paint box, that's what happens. So I think that's sort of the real important explanation to the power of browns. So anyway, I'm just sketching to see what I like. I can still move it around. And what needs water, I'll put water tube on it. The others, I'll just leave it free-stemmed. But what I find for installation, especially like when you're doing a presentation and you want to wow the audience, it's like when you build a structure like this, sometimes it just drop, because it's all the grids right there, and you can place it anywhere you want. And then you lock in after you decide that this looks really good now, so let's commit. So sketching physically is a very important process that is fun. I mean, I love sketching with flowers. And I think when you start to talk in those terms too, we're talking about creativity. That's what artists do. That's what painter does. That's what a ceramicist does. That's what the textile artist does. They compose. And I think if you think in those terms, it becomes just an extra creative process and fun, enjoyment. Okay.
Okay, so this is my next project. So when I brought all the pussy willow from home, and I didn't have a big enough suitcase, so I had to cut it. So I came, when you cut things, you're left with all this stuff, right? And then I thought, oh, I really would hate to waste it. Either, what am I going to do? Am I going to make bongo ties, or am I going to whatever, or trash it? And we don't want to trash it. So in my head, on the way here, I drew out this piece, which is using all the leftover pieces that I had to cut at the end to fit it, the pussy willow, into my suitcase. And so I thought, okay, it's all in my head. I'm drawing it out, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm going to hot glue each piece of wood together. My mistake. It takes forever. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to bundle them together, and then I will hot glue them all together. Then I thought, oh, I need a water source. So I'm gonna put these water source inside here. So it's a piece that you can actually reuse. So if you do like homes or something, you can do it on a larger scale. So the actual piece I wanted to do was on this. So imagine this is a lot of wood, right? But if you can imagine with me, what I wanted to do was have all the sticks, and I wanted it one length, or you can have it different heights, either one like this. But I wanted to have a water source because sometimes when you have a tray, it doesn't hold water. So in my industry, we're doing a lot of these Kenzan stuff. You've seen it, right? I mean, I know there's people here that work with Kenzan. So if you can imagine with me, I wanted to have a long piece with a circle in it so I can fit my Kenzan in it. So you're creating a little armature or a structure that you can use with it. So you have your long piece of wood, either one length, different lengths, whatever, and then you have your little floral pieces. You can have flowers coming over. So you're utilizing it. So you can actually use it in homes. You can use it as a conversational piece. It's another way of reusing all the wood that you have left over without throwing them away. If I can give you a hint, and this is my mistake too, making this, instead of putting your water tubes low, make them a little high so you can see it. Because I was literally going like this with my flashlight. Where is my water tubes? But I learned from my mistakes, right? So I'm sharing it with you. So that's why some of the water tubes are actually stacked on each other in there. And it holds because you have the wood. It's holding everything up. And then you can just design however you want. So they're all in water tubes like this.
So I love doing hand ties. And most of my wedding work is all hand ties. Even the centerpieces are done as hand ties. Destination work, I don't want to give up the bases. But if I do a beautiful hand tie, it's very easy that the guests take that with them. So beautiful combination of small king protea and a couple pins. We have Luis Miguel here, and I love this hybrid mink type because it doesn't have the black, it doesn't create a bullseye with a black center or a black ring around it. And then we have, Tessie's going to help me because I'm not going to look at the paper. Remember how she talked about the anthurium having a nice, this one doesn't have a name yet. 17, is she here? 1712. I don't know why. I'm waiting for her to name this, give it a name so that I don't have to go, because they're all a lot of numbers. Yeah. So this one, here we got a brown, you know, and I think, who asked the question about brown? Yeah. Doesn't look old. Beautiful. It ties in all the colors, marries all the colors. The back of the green is beautiful. There's another anthurium here, which I guess I want to called Moi Moi, and the way it's positioned right now, it kind of looks like it's ready to sleep. But it has this obake, which is a pink and greenish, olive-ish kind of color, which I just kind of used on the bottom. Here we go. Yeah. The gingers, you would have seen this at Colton's at Plant Group. And these are the Darwin gingers, which are my favorite because if you actually take a photo of it, it reminds me of the shape of a dahlia. That doesn't give you attitude and lasts a very, very short time. So, I mean, it opens up. That's why I love the Darwins. And I wish we could get the growers, Johnny, Eric, you know, to grow more Darwins because it's not so pencil shaped. It has that open quality about it. Grasses from the parking lot. I scoped it out when we got here on Tuesday. And when we went there yesterday, of course, they had cut it. But it was still laying on the ground. So enough for me to just grab a handful, to just soften it up. And we have the little fairy dust flowers of these scabiosas, which were grown out on the Waimea side, and the dahlias, and phalaenopsis. And this beautiful, I have the name, I have to look it up on my phone. I saw this back on Maui and I was like, oh, can I take that? And it happens to be blooming now, and they had a bunch of it. Different florists that were all getting it. It's an orchid, and I'll look it up. It's a mouthful, and it's actually fragrant. Yeah, and that was harvested on Sunday. So it gives you, and I still have buds to go. Yeah, beautiful, yeah?
Is it one stem orchid?
No, this is 10 stems.
10 stems also.
So
Yeah.
just little bits.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it's me. It's my final piece. And this goes back to with Hitomi. This is years ago when I got my EMC, and it was with Hitomi, and so she knows this structure because it was my wire and tape structure.
So, and it was awesome because I knew Sue before then, and it was like a game changer. It's like, Sue, you made that?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
it was a game
That was
changer.
so cool.
So I have a structure that I got from Europe, but instead of doing what I did, I incorporated lace because I love to work with lace a lot. So this, I actually, there's several things that I did with this, so I can explain it. So these are, what I used was Kukuna okala, which is mangrove.
Mangrove, the calyx.
The calyx of the mangrove. But usually we use this as lace, but I had them wired. I also thought that, the wire at the end was not so pretty, so I used bind wire at the end. And so how I did this was I started with the heavy gauge wire, and I just crunched it up, and then I started tying it. There's no instructions, you just crumple it up and you tie it, because you're going to use it as your tying point. It's like building your structure there. So I did that so this part I actually bent on the heavy gauge wire, so that way it holds just like how it's holding on this. So that's how it's holding, it's just bent and crimped. But this, because it's on the wire, I can control the bend as much as I want. I can even make rings with this. The other flower I use is just mums, regular mums. I loved it because of the texture. Again, it's wired. I can control the bend. And you can make lace with this too. It's just stringing lace however you want. And because the mums have different stages, you can actually do like some that are thick, some that are thin, those very contemporary new age lace right now. You can be very creative. You can actually combine these if you wanted to, have some of this and then have some of the mums at the end. It's very creative. I know a lot of you are from the mainland, so you have a lot of flowers that you can use. And you might also want to think about the pussy willow also. There's different types of pussy willow. There's another one that you can actually thread through, and you can make a lei with it as well. And then you can combine it with your hina. There's so many possibilities, but I wanted to do something with leis, and this anthurium, the Suvi anthurium, I've named it. I've named it. Thank you very much. But it also has some nice lines. So if you notice, I used it, I asked Hitomi for advice because she's a great teacher. She said to use it as your advantage to create lines into your bouquet as well. So that's basically what I did, is just intertwining the leis in it, literally on wire. And then I added some of this phalaenopsis that I brought over from Oahu. I went to the back. But you can go as big as you want, as small as you want. It really doesn't matter.
It's obvious to me that coming to Hawaii and see the lei making adds a whole another layer of how flowers can be used. And if anybody has studied the plant material deeply, it's the lei makers taking different parts, the calyx off of it and all of that, and combining it together to create something that's absolutely creative and beautiful. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Good job, Sarah.
Okay, so I want to show you something that's kind of crazy. People think that I'm kind of gone a little spinny on this head thing, the flower crown thing, and I want to show you it. Every time I have a lot of flowers, I'm posting these flower crown. And the purpose of the flower crown is this.
I want to learn how to, shape a beautiful shape. I first started out with a flower crown, and then I went this way and that way, and then I went that way, and I went that way because this structure building molds, you can shape it. It's like clay, right? So this has a structure underneath, and you can see some of it. I've left it, but when I work with my students in my master class, this is kind of our end project because it's when we actually paint with flowers into the beautiful art piece that we created. And it's meant to be worn, but we do it as an art piece first, as if we're painting it. And then we decide, when you lift it up, if the balance isn't right, then we have to fix it if you're going to wear it. So we learn first the art of coloring, painting, to satisfy that need first, and then bring it to functionality. I really feel it's really a great way of teaching because they have so much fun with it. I think having fun is the most important thing about art. If it's agonizing, the work looks like it's being agonized over. If you enjoyed it, the work looks happy and beautiful. So anyway, I started the flower on the front side, and I'll finish it later, but you can see how it starts to come about. So the whole, this is such a far cry from what my art is. But what I found out with my art, it's a very narrow area. There's people who like it, and then most people in the flower business say there's not enough flower in it. Well, let me show you. I know how to design with a lot of flowers if I have it. And I use it as the end of the master class when there's all these flowers left over. And there's flowers that we can take apart to do something. When we have the most flowers possible, we're just going to create this and see if we can work with color, if we can work with line, if we can create texture, the form, the shaping of it. Like we learn every one of the elemental lessons that's necessary to create a beautiful composition. And it's joyful to make because it's fun. And when you have fun, the work shows that. And so I found this to be the most enriching final exercise in a lot of my master classes because people just have so much fun. And then they wear it, they take pictures. And I really feel like this is also very functional in a way. Like I've been selling it in floristry as, it's a perfect piece for a wedding shower. So this is for the bride. And she gets a picture taken in it. She can glam out and have fun with it. And the girls will have a little ones, and they have those glam pictures. It's a photo op fun event. And it needs to be short term, so it just needs to be glued or just inserted. And then you take it apart. And then I'll take this apart and I'll turn it into another shape. Because it just keeps working, keeps evolving. And you're learning with each time you do this. And so this is not finished. I'll finish it so that you'll see it at the end of all this, because I'm going to, of course, put more gloriosas in it. I'm going to make it about me in the end. But I just feel like it's really fun. And this does have the tillandsia and the cecropia that were left over from Lois's, because those are light, they're dry, so it's going to be fine. So if you build with that first and then glue into it, it's less fresh flowers, but the flowers are all on the outside, so you see it all. But the mechanics of it all is very light, so you can wear it. So, you learn so much of the attributes of every material that you use in this way. And you just learn deeper. Each time you do it, it's like, oh my gosh, this works better. This works better. And I think that's the thing with working florists is we have to practice and up our game every day. Try new things so that you don't get stuck in a glut. It's really important to search and learn your plant material and try different things. And longevity of flowers and all of that so that you can see what works and what doesn't. That's the continued study, and I really feel like the new generation of floristry wants that. That's why they ask questions. So how can you do that? Why would you do that? Those are good questions. I love teaching young people who ask many questions because it makes me want to learn more. So that's the most important part. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent job, ladies, as always. We have some cool questions from our viewers today. The first question is, how popular is Tropical Nouveau designs today?
Go ahead, Sue.
Well, it's probably about 80% of my business is Tropical Nouveau. The introduction of the boldness of the tropical with the softness of the temperates has become widely popular. I mean, even just the mention of, I always tell my brides, if you want to do like, because they're coming to Hawaii, right, to get married, the East and the West, and they're coming together, they're marrying each other, just like how the flowers are. The boldness and the softness really complement each other.
Yeah, and actually, you know what, Johnny? It's becoming very internationally practiced. Like Per Benjamin in his color book shows the word Tropical Nouveau and what that combination looks like. It's been published in that way, as well as different times that I've worked with other international designers, such as like Daniel Santamaria from Spain. He was intrigued by it. He wanted to learn it. He wanted to use it. It's really exciting that tropicals have taken the steps to merge with temperate flowers to make such a wonderful opportunity for creativity.
Great, great, great. It's spreading. The word is spreading. It's
Absolutely.
mission accomplished. Hitomi,
Yes.
how did you come up with the concept of neo-tropical and Tropical Nouveau?
Well, I think it had a lot to do with just brainstorming as to, I think, at the end of like around 2000 to 2005, I think tropical flowers sort of lost its original popularity. There was a certain style that it was, and it was the same for so long. And so, the sales of tropicals were not as hot as it was before. And we really needed to think of ways to promote it in a new way. And, at that time, we were designing into clear glass, and clear glass cylinders come in different heights. So it no longer needed flowers to be designed low, that you can float it up higher. I think we all saw opportunity to change how tropicals can be designed, that it doesn't have to look the same way as it has before. And so that's where Neotropica came from. It's thinking of different way that we can design that looks different, technically, mechanically, and everything, so that it has a new format that we can promote. And then after that, what came of it was, with the Tropical Nouveau, was just seeing every mainlander coming over for destination wedding, and they were asking for roses and hydrangeas. And we thought, what's wrong with that picture? With that tropical palms in the background, why do we have to have the same old stuff on the mainland with these destination brides? And so I think that's when we started to brainstorm, right, Sue? And Lois, like, how can we make it more Hawaiian when they come over for these beautiful weddings? Like, can we not start to promote the mixture? That's where it came from. So that's where we are.
Kind of the best of both worlds, because I remember there was a time when tropical flowers first came out, they were kind of like scary. Like, oh wow, no, really, it's like, wow, these are so big, and what am I going to do with this large flower that I've never seen before? So you combining the best of both worlds has been working out just terrifically. So which flowers or foliage do you think are exciting for mainland florists?
Okay, Sue, you answer this one first.
I think for mainland florists, I think any type of tropical flower or foliage is great, but I know that a lot of people like to see new things, and the unusual, like the rattlesnake, very unusual looking, a beautiful flower. I love to use that. Certain anthuriums, definitely. I think from the people that live in the mainland, they always tell me that they're afraid of tropicals because they're so big. But after learning more about tropical flowers. I see it in their designs, and I'm so proud of them because they're not afraid to use them anymore. So definitely, I think any type of tropical flowers and foliage, I think they would be, they would love.
Mhm. No, I agree as well. But the thing is, firstly, I think, the mainlanders are accustomed to a certain size and not much bigger. That's why they're afraid when it's big, size-wise, but also heavy stem, big stem, because that's causes a mechanical issue. So that's why we had to ease them into sizing so that they can see that comparatively, this flower can work with this because it fits to the sizing. That's why also just relaying back to the growers that we like some of the smaller flowers that you think are too small, because that's never too small for the mainlanders. So it made it quite awareness as we assess to sell to the mainlanders and people who are not accustomed to tropicals, how we can show them to get used to it by kind of using smaller sizing. I think that really helped. So, but once you get them teased into loving it, they start to get open to the bigger and more drama. And that's really the way you want to share people in learning, so to ease into their comfort level. I think that's really important. But like Sue said, we're so proud when some of the mainlanders who were afraid before take that big step and put that giant monstera in there and say, yeah, I can do this. Like, yeah, yes, I can, right? So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
I think a lot of the beauty of it is too, you don't need a lot of tropical flowers to make a wonderful statement. You can
gosh.
complement it with the different foliages that you folks were using in your presentations today. That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that there's an interest again. And thank you for your folks' promotion of our tropical flowers, mixing them with the softer mainland type of flowers or temperate flowers. Which flowers and foliages do you think are the most popular today in the islands for weddings?
Well, for me, being that I do a lot of weddings, anthuriums is probably the number one. Definitely. Back a couple years ago, the white anthurium was really hard to find, and I've been bugging about growing more white anthuriums. So that now I think is coming more available, the hokulua. That is probably like one of my favorite anthuriums. But I think now a lot of color is coming into play, right? The peaches, the pinks, and as far as foliage, I think different foliages, like the philodendrons, are popular. I love to use the anthurium leaves, believe it or not, because it covers up a lot of the mechanics. And I don't think a lot of people know about the anthurium leaves, because you don't need a lot for coverage for that. And then probably, there's so many. I love to use a fishtail as well because it has a lot of texture there, and the curly Lawai. Curly Lawai is probably my favorite of all times foliage.
I really enjoyed
Excellent.
I really enjoy watching you folks design, because not only do you use tropical flowers, temperate flowers, and foliage, but in part of your mechanics and your design building, you use a lot of different driftwoods and seeds and branches and things like that, which really make an interesting statement and adds more texture and, like you said, Hitomi, design through the arrangements, right?
Texture.
Texture.
So I think, this was fun, huh, Sue? It was fun to do this presentation and really do kind of a fresh look. So, I think we need to move on.
Okay.
To the next. So thank you, Sue, and thank you, Lois, wherever you are. It was fun doing this program.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much. Thank you.